like jazz?
Gaming has been a major influence and part of my young life since I can remember. Of course, for me, console and handheld experiences from the GameCube to the Wii to the PS3 to the DS, 3DS, etc. have all been in my life as I gotten older. And it's still a huge factor now. I mean, every week I rant on here about them. However, arguably the most valuable and cherished memories young Pierre has when it comes to playing video games growing up was the wonderful world of browser games that were provided by Adobe Flash. See, being a gamer, you get that urge to game all the time, and when you're a gamer at like 8 years old, you're in school for most of that time. Coming up in the illustrious American school system, there were plenty of opportunities for kids like myself to get access to the internet. And in the boredom of daily school routine, me and my friends would take every chance we got to sneak on Flash game sites. There was a treasure trove of websites and an even larger number of memorable games I can recall from as far back to my first years of elementary to as recent as these last final few years. Whether it was Puff games, Space Pinball, Scratch, the .io games, or the infamous Cool Math games, I found fond moments with them all. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to focus on the 3 that left the biggest impressions on my life. It's no news to anyone that Flash was gutted as we entered the new year. So in a very, very long overdue homage, nearly 5 months after the engine ceased operations, let's get right into today's topic. When I was around 6 or 7 in grade 2, I frequented the computer lab often, and one of the websites that the teachers would recommend for the little kids was Funbrain. Funbrain itself was a cool, kinda educational site with fun mini games of its own. However, they would always advertise a different site, and that site would be Poptropica. Poptropica is an online RPG that popped up around 2007, created by the same guy responsible for another chunk of my childhood. The main focus of the game is to travel to themed worlds to complete whatever story mission that the place had to offer. You can create an avatar that kinda looks like you, and then receive a wacky name like Shoeless Hamburger or Muddy Drummer before being thrown into the servers for the first time. Since it was an online game, there were certain rooms in each island where you can interact with other players living with you in that area. But I was big on completing the islands, so truthfully I never really focused on the multiplayer aspect of a multiplayer game. Nowadays, there are something close to 55 or 60 islands that are playable, but back when I peaked in my Poptropica days in around 2011, there were only around 30. I vividly can recall a lot of those earlier islands like Shark Tooth, early Poptropica, 24 Karat, Spy Island, Reality TV Island, and even this winter-themed Diary of a Wimpy Kid one. It really sticks in my mind. Luckily, Poptropica is still going strong, not only as an online game, but as a franchise. I've seen a lot of licensed books and such pop up in the years after I left the game, and even revisiting for the making of this video, it was really nice to see how active Poptropica still is, when it was one of the very first online experiences that I had well over a decade ago. When I was in school and we were lucky enough to use the computers for the day's tasks, I knew that once I finished, I wouldn't have a lot of time to sneak in and play a game. Sure, there were short games that I mastered to always beat in record times, like Johnny Upgrade and Skull Kid, but there was a faithful collection of games I always knew I would always get past the first level 100% without any fail in any time slot, and that was the Papa Louie titles. This series of games holds a very special place in my heart, and I still revisit and reference it to this day. The gist of this franchise is that you are a character that gets into some mishap that always results in you looking after a restaurant. Whether it was pizza, burgers, milkshakes, tacos, or pancakes, you had to make as many as you can for the onslaught of customers each day. The charm that oozed from these titles, from the music to the art style to the wacky articles of food, forever sticks in my mind. There are 15 mainline titles and a handful of spin-offs that I played as well. I've mentioned the first 5 or so, but since the series began in August of 2007, the series has touched almost every dish and dessert that comes to mind. Chicken wings, hot dogs, cupcakes, pasta, donuts, pies, sushi and ice cream sundaes. While my favorite when I first encountered the franchise was Papa's Freezeria, the milkshake one, as I followed the series, I have to say the one I enjoyed the most was the grilled cheese-based Papa's Cheeseria. In fact, when news first broke that Flash was soon to be discontinued, I sat down and attempted to 100% every installment of the series. Unfortunately, I never got through more than 2 because, well, 2020 was a year, to put it lightly. But listening to podcasts bunkered up in my room, playing hours and hours of Cheeseria was one of the highlights of last summer. The games are still releasing to this day, continuing on mobile devices only following the death of Flash, with the most recent installment, Mocharia, being the first of this post-Flash era. I had to save the best for last. Club Penguin, man. I don't know if I can describe how vast of a role this stupid penguin game had on my upbringing. It was the reason penguins are one of my favorite animals. It was the reason I drew derpy penguins as some sort of signature-esque moniker in middle school. It was the reason why I convinced my mother to give me her old Dell laptop when she probably didn't even trust me with the internet at that young of an age. And for many of you watching, it's likely no need for an introduction based on the franchise's presence in meme culture and general nostalgia over time. Nevertheless, Club Penguin was an MMO aimed for kids based in a winter world where everybody was colorful cartoon penguins. There was no real definitive goal of the game, but there definitely were a lot of incentives. Pimping out your igloos, getting a black belt in card jitsu, joining the elite penguin force. I did it all. I hunted every puffle, every agent mission, played every mini game religiously. For at least 3 years of my life, it was a daily routine. See, in my first 5 years of grade school, I was lucky enough to go to the same school as my mom worked in. So I would always get to the building early as she would get set up for her class every morning. And to get through that hour or so I would have before it was time to go, I would go to the little baby computer corner and finesse the school's firewall to play Club Penguin. But it wasn't something that I played just in school. I was a proud owner of more than a few comic books and adventure guides that I read obsessively at home. And even just recently I hit up eBay to recover some of the old Club Penguin games on Nintendo consoles I had as a kid. When I was finished with elementary though, my mom and I parted schools, and my ability to keep up with the Club Penguin franchise waned with it. Nevertheless, I was just as heartbroken as the next fan when I found out the game was to be shut down in 2017, only to be replaced by some unrecognizable attempt at a series reboot. Yes, the death of Club Penguin that took place on the night of March 29th, 2017 is an event that is infamously known, specifically for when the iceberg finally flipped over. I was there when it happened, and it was truthfully an emotional moment. Like myself, the franchise meant a lot to people my age, older than me, and younger. It was a unique and spirited online platform, and it won't go unmissed. Is what I would say if it wasn't for the passionate fans who took a step above even my love for the series, because there are still many fan servers of Club Penguin that exist and replicate the game using its files to this day. And while some got DMCA'd due to some very, very bad reasons, servers like Club Penguin Rewritten still offer detailed recreations of the world and a massive following of users. And hopefully, with the ongoing success of private servers like Rewritten, maybe one day we'll catch the attention of the mouse to revive Club Penguin for a new generation of players. All in all, it truly wasn't until recently that I realized how much Flash has impacted my childhood, and how much I already miss many of the browser games it allowed myself and thousands of other kids to play growing up. Now that I'm dangerously teetering on adulthood, I find comfort in making videos like this, reflecting on the numerous aspects of gaming that have shaped me. I know Flash is gone because it was risky and outdated in more than one way, but while it was still here, I really took it for granted. So although this tribute is definitely 5 months late, thank you Adobe Flash for all the memories. You will be missed. And if you got through this rose-tinted ramble, thank you as well for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.